Hello and welcome to our interview today with Bruno Cathala. Hi Bruno, how are you doing?
Fine, fine. Hello everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to talk a little bit today about Seven Wonders Duel Agora. But first off, I'd love it if you could tell me, for those who aren't familiar with you, just a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a French game designer. I'm 56. I'm living in French Alps in the middle of the mountains, and it's fantastic.
Sounds amazing.
And I'm passionate of games for sure, also playing guitar, riding my bike, and flying fishing.
Idyllic. It sounds amazing.
Yes, it's not a bad life for sure.
So do you want to just talk us briefly through the titles that you've released so far, because there's quite a few of them.
I think that someone say me that it's more than 100 games, but the most well-known are probably Mr. Jack, Cyclades, Shadows over Camelot, King Domino,
Yeah.
Five Tribes, Abyss, and Seven Wonders Duel, because Seven Wonders is a pure Antoine Boza game. I only participate on the duel version.
Well, that's quite a heavy hitting list that you've just reeled off for 15 years. I think that's pretty good going.
I'm very lucky.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned there that Seven Wonders was purely Antoine's game, but you actually worked with him on Seven Wonders Duel. Is that correct?
Yes, that's it. And just because he asked me,
Oh,
the
really?
story is that we were flying to Gen Con, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I don't remember exactly. And during the flight, he explained me that he wanted to work on a pure two-player game in Seven Wonders world, because he was not satisfied about the game experience of playing at two-player with a basic box. And he tried on his own, but he didn't find anything which was satisfying enough to him. So he asked me to join him on the project, because we are friends and because it seems that I have something special for two-player games.
Oh, that's so lovely. That's really, that's nice that you got to work together on something, and you know, you obviously enjoy working together, and it was a great success as well.
Yes, and it's also for me, it was a fantastic chance for sure, because Seven Wonders was still a huge success. So that means that one colleague, which was also a friend, asked me to share that with him. So yes, it was very kind from him, and it was a big chance for me for sure.
Yeah, and we're talking today about Seven Wonders Duel Agora. Could you describe it for us in just one sentence?
In Seven Wonders Duel Agora, you have two ways. You can make politics to take the control of the Senate, or you can use the black side or the dark side to use conspirators to make some surprise, very bad surprise to your opponents.
Which, out of interest, which way do you take when you play, or do you try and play both ways?
It depends. It depends on the situation. You have, like always in games, I like when you have to adapt yourself to a situation, when you can't decide before the game what you will do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's, I think, such a great part of what makes Seven Wonders Duel, and I assume Seven Wonders Duel Agora, brilliant, is that you have to adapt and strategize and change the plan sometimes.
Exactly.
So I'm going to give you a few more words than one sentence now. Do you want to tell us about what's new in Seven Wonders Duel Agora?
So you have a new board, a new part of board. You have a basic board for the military components, and with the first expansion, you add something above, and now on the other side, you will have the senators. The Senate in English? Senate?
Yeah, the Senate, yeah.
The Senate. And this Senate is divided in many chambers, and you have a new category of cards, which are senators. And when you take a senator, you will place some senator tokens in the chamber to take the majority. And you have a new way to win the game, because if you master the complete Senate, if you have a majority in all the chambers, you win immediately. But you have also some conspirators, and these conspirators, you can use them to have some secret plans that you can trigger at the good time during the games to make some, yes, big surprise to your opponent. So you have always the choice to play a regular way or not so much good.
Depends how you're feeling on any given day, good or bad. And you mentioned there that you have Seven Wonders Duel Pantheon, the board above, and then you've got a new board below. Are the two expansions, can you play them together?
Sure.
Oh, fantastic.
It's not you are not obliged. You can play one expansion or the second one, but if you like, you can also combine the two expansions. Sure, there are more rules. It's a little more complicated, but when you have a good experience of the game, it works really well. And to be honest, it was a surprise to me, because when we developed first Agora, we just focused on Agora because we thought we have to do a good second expansion. And then we really thought that maybe to have the two expansions together could be too much, in fact. Right. But when we finished the development, for sure, we tried. And we make many games with the two expansions, and it works. It's really good to have the two expansions together. But you need to focus more on all the possibilities, etc. So if you want a very simple game, you take only one of the two expansions. But if you like more complicated situations, so you can mix the two expansions.
I really like that variability. I like that you can, if you were teaching a game to someone new, you could start with something basic with just Seven Wonders Duel, and then you can just slowly build up and build up and build up until it's getting more strategic.
And in my opinion, if you want to introduce someone to Seven Wonders Duel plus only one of the expansion, you should choose Agora first.
Oh, really?
Because it's more simple than that Pantheon.
Okay. And so, speaking of the rules, then, is there anything that changes the initial rules for Seven Wonders Duel?
No, the initial rules are always the same. The initial rules have not changed. It's just we have added a new color, which is white, a new category of cards. So all the basic rules are the same. So that means it's very easy to teach this expansion, because you have only to explain the new cards, and that's all.
Brilliant. And you mentioned there that when you wanted to make a second edition, you weren't sure that it was going to be compatible with the others. But now that you've managed it and it's successful, are there any plans to expand it a little further? You know, you could fill out the left and the right of the board as well.
No, at this time, there is nothing planned for that. But who knows? When we worked on Seven Wonders Duel, we never thought of making expansions later. The first one came because we loved the game and we had a new idea. But when we built Pantheon, we never thought to make a second expansion. So it came later because we needed it for us. I am the first player of my own games.
Right.
And even after the release of a game, I always play them again and again. And there is sometimes a time when I need more. And if this time comes now, maybe we will do something else. I don't know. Maybe a third box, maybe with why not the solo version and some new wonders and new things, but I don't know, in fact.
Okay, it sounds like there's something ticking away in there already. Maybe once you get out in the Alps and mull it over a bit, we'll have a new game.
It's exactly the way I'm working.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
You'll just go for a walk and
I go to ride my bike for 3-4 hours, and during that time your brain thinks about, and sometimes the ideas comes like that in the middle of nowhere.
That's absolutely amazing. So you've worked on a solo version of Seven Wonders Duel during the coronavirus lockdown. Tell us a little bit about the experience of collaborating on a game whilst not being able to physically be in the same room.
To be honest, it doesn't change so much things for us because Antoine and me are not living close. We have something like 3 hours of driving to meet together. So very often we are working together using Skype or mails or whatever. So we worked on both sides, but always exchanging our ideas. And there is another tool which is useful, is that during the lockdown, I make some progress using a tabletop simulator.
Oh, fantastic.
So that was a way to implement the games and to play together just screen by screen, but with video and audio sound at the same time. So like if we were around the same table. And we worked this way during the lockdown. And it was not so different than being together for that kind of game.
Interesting. I think there's definitely something that comes from being together in the same room creatively. I think sometimes it makes it easier to bounce off of each other. But the lockdown is definitely changing the way that people work and changing the way that people have to create.
But like I said, you know, I'm known to work with a lot of different game designers, with different partners, and all of them are really far from me. That means that for years, before lockdown, we found some ways to work together, not being together at the same time, at the same place.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why it was not so difficult for us to go on during this stressing period.
Yeah. I mean, if I was a game designer, I'd be queuing up to come to the Alps. I think that's what a fantastic place to work.
Sure.
So let's talk a little bit about you now then. How did you get into game design?
When I was young, I had some hairs at this time. When I was young, I had no idea that modern games exist. I only knew the big standards like abstract games like chess, Othello, etc., or Risiko, Clue,
Right.
Monopoly, which was not interesting to me. But when I was 20, I discovered that there was a life after Monopoly because of a French magazine which was named Géostratégie, Games and Strategy.
Right.
And I bought my first games because of this newspaper, of this magazine. And yes, it was amazing to me to see that game, which was so nice, so interesting, etc. And this game was published because his game designer won a game design contest. And for the first time of my life, I understood that there were some people inventing games. I never thought about that before. Right. Because for me, I was buying games and they were there for years and years and years. You know, chess. You don't know who has invented chess, for example.
Right.
And I promised myself that one day I will create my game to win that game contest and being published. But at this time, I had absolutely no ideas about what to do. So during years, I just feed myself about existing games, buying games, learning the rules, teaching the rules to my friends, and just playing. At this time, I was really involved in my job, which took a lot of time to me. I was involved also in sports because I was a rugby player and I had 2 or 3 trainings each week plus a match each weekend, and I was also involved in my family because I became a father, etc. So all this take my time, plus just playing. But in '99, situation changed because I broke my knee, so it was no more possible to play rugby. It was out, and I divorced. So I was alone at home, and I thought that it was the perfect time to make something else. And I worked on my first game as a game designer. I tried for the first time to create something. And as far as I fed myself with a lot of games during maybe something like 10 or 15 years, I had ideas at this time. And the big luck I had is that my first game has been published. I found a publisher for that, and it gave me enough confidence to go on this way. So that's the story.
And what was your first game?
The name of the game was Sans foi ni loi in French, which means lawless in English. It was about westerns and the wild, wild west.
It sounds fantastic. And did you ever submit it to that magazine competition?
Not this one, but 2 years or 3 years later, with my friend Serge Laget, which is also a game designer, we built a game which was du ballet in French. I don't know the title in English. And we presented to this contest. We won the contest. We were published, and we also won the As d'Or in France, the award for the best game of the year.
Wow! So that was it's a good thing you saw that magazine competition all those years ago.
Yeah,
it led to fantastic things.
But I'm a little obstinated, you know.
So tell us a little bit then about your day-to-day of designing games. You already mentioned you sort of, you go out into nature for some inspiration. Is there anything else that you do?
The first thing I do quite each day is a kind of survey. That means that my first hour is just to go on internet and to look on the different websites like Board Game Geek, Trick Track in France, or Ludovox, etc., or Spielbox, and just to see who works with who, what is coming on, etc., just to have the mood, to feel the global mood. I'm never trying to observe, to imagine what people want. I always make the games I want for myself, but I'm quite sure that having this kind of feeling helps me to maybe to anticipate what the people want. Because if I start to work on a game now, it will be published in 2 years. Yeah. So that means this delay, you have to be in advance, in fact. So this is my first hour, and then it depends because I'm working on something like 10 to 15 games at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So 10 to 15 projects at different stage of advancement for sure. But you have some things which are very urgent, so I make that immediately, and then I swap from one project to another project depending on the calls I have, because we are speaking with my co-designer or with publishers or with the graphic designers by Skype, etc. So it's a lot of different meetings during the day, plus the playtesting sessions, which can be on the evening or sometimes during the day if I manage to find friends who are free at this time, which is not that possible, easy, I would say. And that's it. And like you say, like I said, and you say to me, yes, going out to make something completely disconnected with the games help me to have fresh ideas.
Yeah. And I mean, it must be working if you've got 15 projects on at once. Yeah. It's definitely doing something. So you mentioned there that you sometimes play test with friends. Do you have sort of go-to play testers? Is it always this friend or this person that tells you a certain part of a certain piece of feedback?
The first thing I have to do is that I'm always participating to the playtest. I never give a rule and a game to a group of playtesters without being there.
Right.
I like to compare their feeling with mine.
Okay.
So I need to be there. And then I have 3 main groups for the playtestings. One, we meet each Friday evening. It's friends that I have gathered close to my house. And they are all quite very advanced players. They are kind of experts.
Right.
The second group is more casual gamers. And I have some meetings with them, I would say 1 time each month. And it's very interesting to see how the feeling of different categories of players, big players, more casual ones. And now I'm also making some playtesting at home with my girlfriend and her daughter, which is 10. And it's another way to see if the rules are understandable enough. It's not too much complicating, if my feeling is good enough to go on in that project. And so it depends on the project, it depends of how advanced it is, but I swap from these 3 groups depending on what I need at this time.
And is it the case that you need all 3 groups to have got it, you know, to a place that they're happy with for you to be able to proceed, or does it really depend on the game?
No. I'm always using the 3 groups with all my games.
Amazing. They must really enjoy it. It must be a lot of fun, I think, to playtest.
You have to ask them. Maybe it's boring for them. Oh, a new game.
So what then is the one thing that you always keep in mind when you're creating a new game?
Do I want to play it again?
Right.
It's the only things which matter for me, because I'm designing games for myself. It's quite a selfish attitude, I know, but I think that it's exactly the job of a game designer, of a designer. In fact, it would be the same thing for a writer, for example. I have to create my own path, not thinking of what the people need. No, I'm creating the things I need for myself, and then I have to try to convince people to follow me on that way.
So for every game that you're happy with and that you enjoy for yourself, how many ideas are there that aren't as successful and that you sort of get to a point where you're not happy with them?
But my problem is that I'm happy with all the games I'm designing.
Well, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, really, because it's also one good thing for me, because then when the game is released, sometimes it's successful, very successful. Sometimes it's not so much successful, but I'm still happy with the game because it was exactly what I wanted to do for myself. So
that's brilliant.
It's a good way not to be too much frustrated, in fact. Because, you know, you can have big success with games which are not the best in your mind.
Right.
And you can have some fails with some games you really think are the best for you.
And so do you have a favorite game that you've designed?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell me?
But it has not been released yet. It will come. Yeah. I will show you the prototype box.
Ooh.
The name is Insert. It's a pure abstract game for 2 players. And I really think that it's the best game I ever made.
Oh my gosh, I'm definitely looking at that.
But I know that it will probably be very, very difficult to give it a very good life, just because it's an abstract game. And that today, this kind of game is not the most easy to sell. But
right.
on a pure game design point of view, I really think it's my best game. Since I finished to work on it, I've played it more than 500 times.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not bored about playing it again and again and again.
That's brilliant. I love games like that. If you could pick any game in the world that you haven't designed
Okay.
To design or to have designed, which would it be and why?
Probably Magic the Gathering.
Well, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, because in fact, this game opened my eyes. For, like I explained, before trying to work on my own games, I had no idea what to do. It seemed so complicated to me. And when I discovered Magic and played it again and again with all these cards, with changing the rules, etc., I don't know exactly why, but it's like if this game told me how to build a game, in fact. So I've learned very, very deep things just playing Magic the Gathering, and that it has been a key to the game world to me. So yes, I will keep this one for sure.
And I mean, it's very successful as well, so that always helps. And I think you're right. I do think that it's one of those games that really changed the industry.
Yeah, sure.
So finally, I want to ask you a question that I always end my interviews on, and that is, why do you think that board games change the world?
I will probably disappoint you, but I don't think that board games change the world.
Oh, you don't?
No.
So tell me why.
People can change the world, and I hope that they will do, but not games. For me, games have to stay as a recreation, in fact, something that you don't have to be connected to the real world, etc., just to refresh your mind. But it's not made to change the world, to me.
It's made more for an escape.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think that was still a brilliant answer. I wasn't disappointed. That was absolutely fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much, Bruno, for joining me.
You're welcome.
And for everyone that wants to know when Seven Wonders Duel Agora is releasing, do you know the date yet?
It will be the 23rd of October.
Perfect.
It should have been during the Spiel, but like you know.
During virtual Spiel instead.
Exactly.
Well, everyone can keep up to date with it on Repost's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, social media channels. They can like, follow, subscribe to find out more. Thank you so much for joining me.
It was a pleasure.